very much for coming. This is going to be a very quick overview of the sort of work and IWMI's angle on wetlands. So you might actually ask, why is IWMI, which is not a conservation institute, our focus is actually on agriculture, livelihoods and poverty alleviation, and you may ask the question, so why are we an IOP in Ramsar? And in fact, we're the most recent IOP, that's the international organisational partner of Ramsar. We joined Ramsar in 2005. And I think it reflects this gradual transition of Ramsar, or as Nick pointed out, the language has been there, but the focus less on conservation per se and more on people. So, IWMI's work is focused on wetlands, and we take the view that wetlands are actually a resource for agriculture. So wetland agriculture supports many millions of people in the developing world, and it can also be a route out of poverty. So it provides a development opportunity for many people that can actually lift them out of poverty. And just some facts: the percentage of Ramsar sites with agriculture actually within them is high in both Africa and Asia, and this doesn't reflect those sites which are pressured by agriculture. As Nick said, a lot of the pressure on Ramsar sites also comes, or on wetlands in general, comes from agriculture, but this reflects, or these figures relate to those wetlands where there's actually agriculture within them. It's estimated the value of services in Africa and Asia is many billions of dollars, and a high proportion of this in both continents, just as a back of the envelope calculation, because the data are very scarce, but very high proportion of this is actually generated by agriculture. But of course, as Nick also said, agriculture is one of the major threats to wetlands. It's inappropriate practices, agricultural practices, which destroy ecosystem services. So that's the regulating, supporting and cultural services that wetlands provide. But in destroying those services, it also undermines agriculture itself. So these photos show highly degraded wetlands in Ethiopia, which have been degraded as a consequence of, basically dried out as a consequence of too much agriculture. And this obviously undermines the agricultural productivity of wetlands. The drivers of change, as we all know: population growth, degradation of upland fields in many parts of the world. Degradation of uplands is forcing people into wetlands, because wetlands are not always the first choice for agriculture. Often they're difficult to work, there's problems with weeds, pests, etc., make it actually not the easiest place to work, and so people tend to go there when they have no choice. But also things like market opportunities, the need to earn cash, and climate change, of course. And the bottom figure there is just a figure which gives you some idea of some of the pressures on water as a consequence of future need to produce food for global population. It's estimated that if we continue as we are, we need to double the amount of water that we're going to be using in food by 2050. So the challenge is to devise strategies that support agriculture, but also simultaneously safeguard ecosystem services. So this is coming to the core of the Ramsar Convention, is how to achieve wise use of a wetland in a specific social, economic and ecological setting. And that's the difficult thing, is how can we obtain this wise use, particularly when people need to be lifted from poverty and need to secure their food. And so the way that IWMI thinks about this is basically to strike a balance. We need to get the right balance. The figure on the left there, top there, shows a range of ecosystem services that a natural wetland might provide. So it provides, as we heard, regulating water hydrological services, climate regulation, also services in terms of nutrient cycling, etc. Intensive cropland, you have a switch in services to obviously to food production, and this causes a reduction in the other services. And then what we really want is a multifunctional system, where obviously they're going to have to be trade-offs. So not everything can be equally produced, but we want much more of a balance between the crops and the agricultural production in relation to the other services that are provided. So this is the vision that we want. And it is possible. These are just some examples, or this is an example of a sort of approach that's been developed in parts of southern Africa, using the wetland in multiple different ways, planning the wetland use around a set of different functions, so not only food production, but all these other services as well. And the photo on the right there just shows a wetland in Malawi where this has been attempted. But this so clearly thinking that people are at the core, it's people managing their own wetlands and maximising these bundles of benefits that come from them, and obviously thinking about doing this in a sustainable manner. So that's IWMI's take, and that's where the IWMI approach is going. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.